What's up, everybody? Jackson here, and today I want to talk about something that's been kicking around in the back of my head for a while now, and that is the current state of collectible card games of a competitive nature. The examples I'm going to be using here are Magic, Hearthstone, and Gwent. And the reason Gwent is being thrown in there, I know it's new, it's not really a contender with the other two. The other two are massive in comparison, as in, like, popularity and money earned to the date. I mean, Magic the Gathering has been around for so long, and it makes me feel incredibly old when I start to think about it. Now, that said, I want to talk about how these games, they're pay to win. That's the current state of them. They're pay to win, no matter what, any way you cut it, all right? Now, the thing that changed was the internet and people having access to, they can say, okay, well, I want this deck because this is the current top tier tournament deck, or this deck because it's, and they can pick from a handful of decks, and they can go online with the individual card cells, and they can individually pick out, okay, well, I need 4 of these, okay, I can pick up 4 of those for, 50, 60 bucks, and fast forward a few $100 later, you've got a top tier Magic deck that for 3 months is going to be competitive and defeat, 90% of the competition, especially if you're playing in local card shops against foolish, naive children who are just there to have fun and want to, try to come up with their own ideas and their own decks. But anyway, so the reason I'm talking about this is because there's a Paul Tassi article where he's talking about how it's fine for Overwatch to have all of these, money in order to get these items, and have it be impossible to earn every event item, in the time the event is allowed through, organically running the shit and getting the rewards, having that's fine. But he's kind of disappointed that over the new Hearthstone, Ungoro Crater, he had to pay so much money for, and he still didn't get the cards he wanted, and blah, 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 you know what I mean? The thing about it is what do you expect? And of course, this is Mr. Paul Tassi. Like, what do you expect, Mr. Tassi? Like, you're stepping into a competitive card game, all right? Now, long gone are the days of purity, all right? Now, we'll rewind several years. I remember way young, probably the first card game. I mean, I was exposed to Magic the Gathering, but I didn't really play it too much because my mom, my mom and other church ladies viewed it as like devil worshipping, and we had our own little scare within our stupid fucking sheltered community, kind of akin to the fucking D&D scare, where that was fucking devil worshipping. Oh, they're in basements playing like they're fighting demons. Oh god, someone help us, save us. But anyway, so my brothers and his friends were playing Magic at that time, but the first card game that I personally started collecting and playing myself was Overpower, Marvel Overpower. That card, it's still, in my opinion, one of the best games, funnest games. And there was a purity to this sort of peer-to-peer collecting and playing against people, because it was basically, it was what you could afford, what your parents could afford to give you through allowance, or if you were old enough to be working, what you could afford, by yourself. And then there was even peer-to-peer there where you had, I personally had several friends that would just give me doubles, so that I could have more cards and access to more ways of playing the card game, you know what I mean? And it just felt, there was a purity to this, you know what I mean? I'm looking at you, Dan and Jeff, by the way, when I'm talking about doubles and free cards. But, you had cool friends who had things that they'd be like, here, you want this, you take the, and then they just wanted to play against you, you know what I mean? Rewind, or fast forward now to the age of the internet, when, like I said, you can go online and you can easily just be like, okay, well, top Gwent decks, top Hearthstone decks, top fucking Magic the Gathering decks, so on and so forth. And whatever collectible card game you're playing that's competitive in nature is going to have a list of tournament decks that are kicking the shit out of everything, a handful, maybe a dozen, whatever. You're going to be able to, if you're, and if you have the money to do this, I don't blame you. I don't besmirch anyone who plays these games and keeps to date with them. I know plenty of people who play it and, they are actually funding their hobby just through collecting the cards by selling individual cards online that other people want for decks that they're personally not interested in. And that's still, and it's very cool, that community that's online that trades with each other. And that's fucking awesome to see people, work things out like that. And I'm not besmirching anyone who does this. I'm just saying it gets rid of the purity of the card game, where it was, my mind versus your mind and this and that, where it wasn't like some top tier dudes' minds versus our minds, and we tweaked it a little, but still, like, we got the idea from there. It was like, and that's why if I even ever did play Magic the Gathering, I would have to play the boosters. the draft, the draft, because I feel like that's the only pure way to play it. And I used to do that up to a point, but I just stopped doing it too because it's too expensive. There's too many goddamn sets all the time, you know what I mean? And this has been kicking around in my head because it's something that, like, I really do miss. I miss that purity of the card game when you were young, and like the peer-to-peer interaction and all of that thing. It's kind of just lost. Like, the current state of, I'm sorry, but the current state of card games is just, it's kind of like pay to win. Pay to win, or, pay to have fun with your small group of friends, but it's always going to be pay more if you want to do it and get into it competitively and really get into it as a collector, you know what I mean? It's going to cost a lot of money because it's every 3 months with Magic the Gathering. Hearthstone, they're doing like once a year. Who knows what Gwent's going to do? I still feel like Gwent's probably going to be your most rewarding overall and the most fair just because it's CDPR, but I have no proof to back that up. And, as far as the current state of Gwent, I'm not very pleased with it because I had worked my ass off to accrue enough, materials and shit like that through organically playing the game, because I'm not going to give money to I'm not going to buy fucking cards in a fucking digital card game. Like, I'm just not going to do that. Sorry. But I had crafted this very cool, workable deck that I had, like, an 80% win ratio with, right? So it was really good. It was a Skellige deck. Of course I had looked it up online. Of course I had looked it up and crafted it with it in mind specifically because I was seeing that people were doing the exact same thing. So of course I was doing it because I was there. I wanted to compete with these people, you know what I mean? And that's the only way to compete in these games. And that's when it started to go in my head. And then anyway, but fuck, as far as Gwent's concerned, like, I'm done playing it because they just updated it to the open beta and they changed everything and fucking, like, got rid of all of my progress, and, like, I'm just not doing it again. I played like 2 matches in a row and they were both level 1s and they both had decks that were built from cards that you would have to buy. They were not playing starter decks, so fuck that shit. Because I'm not, and that's what I'm saying. It's pay to win. And, Paul Tassi, to expect anything differently from a competitive card game is just foolish of you. Like, for you to go on and complain about these prices that they set and anything like that, like, dude, come on. Just don't play the fucking thing, dude. They've set their price. They're saying you have to have this much money to enter this competitive arena. All right? They've said that. And if you're not okay with that, don't bitch about it. Turn around, walk away, and find something else. All right? It's that simple, dude. Come on. I see, and I see you have these redeeming articles sometimes where your complaints about microtransactions and shit like that are legitimate. And then I see you post something like this and I'm just like, come on, man. Really, dude? That's it for me, everybody. Jackson, I love you. I just wanted to trail out about this. It's something I've been wanting to talk about for a while because it was something that I enjoyed quite a lot of when I was young, and it was, next to, like, I'd say fucking reading fantasy books and fucking, playing video games. It was one of those things that never went away and kind of always stuck with me until this sort of state where it's still, I can enjoy it, but it's like I'm enjoying it with the understanding of what it is now, what it's turned into. You know what I mean? And I don't begrudge, like I said, I don't begrudge anyone who, I'm just trying to explain, like, why I just can't keep up with this shit. I don't have the money for this. Like, I don't have the money to throw down a few $100s on one fucking expansion, dude. Like, I'll take that money and I'll throw it on, like, 6-7 games if I have the extra money, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, I just don't understand how you could justify that sort of price on any hobby. But that's coming from perspective of someone who doesn't have that sort of money. If you have that sort of money, I don't begrudge you for doing it. But I think it's foolish of you to then turn around and complain about it. All right? That's the limit they've set. Okay? If it's not fair, if it's not a fair deal to you, go play something that's, a competitor that's better, that's more fair to you, that has a more reasonable entry price. It's that simple. But just don't complain about it. It's foolish. I'm sorry. And I get it with any other game. Like, you complain about prices in any other game, but this is essentially that they're saying, look, this is the price of a pack. Okay? This is the price of a pack. This is how much it costs to enter. All right? You now have the drop rates because of China, so thank China for that. Look at those drop rates, see if they're fair, see if the price of entry is worth it to you personally as a fucking consumer, and do it. And when you make an article about motherfucking microtransactions, make an article that matters because you have a voice that reaches far. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Everyone else, I love you. Talk to y'all later. Keep kicking ass, stay safe, stay awesome. Till next time, I'm Jackson, and remember that I fucking love you.